Hey everyone, welcome back to Missing Triggers. I am Sebastian. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Kyle.
That's me. Hello,
That's it.
do man.
In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about, not this week's, but this episode, we're going to be talking about the Pro Tour, our expectations, our excitement for it, predictions, um, and obviously we'll go a little off topic. We got some questions that people have sent in, and overall, we we are excited to answer.
Oh, dude, for
So,
sure, for freaking sure. Oh, I'm so
so
excited
first
for this
thing,
episode.
oh yeah, same. First thing on the menu is our. So we kind of it's kind of a question, but we're like it should just be a whole segment. What's our preparations for tournaments? But mainly, we're gonna get into our pro tour preparation. So kind of intertwined in
Before
each
before
other.
we get into that specifically,
Okay.
I do want to say, a big thank you to everyone who listened to our first episode. Um,
Oh yeah.
Obviously, it took us a while to actually record it, actually sit down and do it. But the responses have been great, and we appreciate each and every one of you guys for listening, subscribing to the YouTube. We're actually on Spotify now. I figured that out. That's awesome. So if you guys
We
wouldn't
got
mind,
there.
there's going to be links down in the description. Hopefully you guys are able to click subscribe on the YouTube channel. And for anybody that wants to listen to a podcast on the go, we're on Spotify. I'm going to figure that out and link that into the description below too. We appreciate each and every one of you, and yeah,
Hopefully people like this and we can just make this a thing. I think we're gonna do it anyway, but I hope people enjoy. And it looks like they did. So.
oh for sure, for sure. I'm just excited to get more of these done. It's very uplifting to see that people enjoyed it, and it gives me motivation, and it shows that we've got something special that we could do, and put out into the community. So I'm super appreciative of all the kind words so far of our first episode. Let's get into it though. Fucking Pro Tour New Jersey. Fucking Pro Tour New Jersey. Let's talk about the preparations first.
Preparations. All right.
We've had
So I will
quite a
safely
bit.
say I think 95% of people going into this event are not happy with their preparations. Um, and this is, I think everyone prepared to their best ability, but I think it's kind of interesting in this format because Starvo is still the best deck. It's just like only the best deck by a small margin. Like it's still better than a lot of things, but by a smaller margin now. So people are testing, pet decks, their favorite heroes, older decks that are better now. And so I think everyone's testing's been everywhere, and from Twitter and everything, I have not heard many people say I feel comfortable going into this event.
It's weird.
What about you,
It's
Kyle?
it's been weird. And I think our group shares a lot of the same uh, experiences through testing. Although all testing groups don't test the same for the most part, but I think everybody's kind of come to the same conclusion of I think it's still wide open, for the most part. For the most part.
Yeah,
And
Starfo's still gate,
yeah,
but
dude, Starvo's dead ass just in front of the gates, and he's saying "fuck with me." Like it. Sure, the Autumn's Touch was a very unexpected hit, but looking at it, it was definitely a necessary hit. After getting a week or two into watching everyone play the games and kind of seeing how everything unfolded, literally, if you just take Michael Hamilton's list, which already didn't play Awakening, and it played Autumn's Touch, all nine Autumn's Touch, so you just jam in like Evergreens or some other Earth card that just fills that space, and it just runs the same. And he is, like you said, he's literally just gatekeeping everything else for the most part. Prism can be tough at points, obviously. Chain, if you don't draw well, can be tough at points. But also, if you just can activate Starvo ability, you're just chilling. You just sit in your recliner and just do your thing. And I
uh,
think that's where a lot of people have kind of come to.
yeah,
I don't know. It's I I haven't really been testing. I've had a lot of stuff life wise that has kind of prohibited me from playing as much. So I'm not very confident going into the Pro Tour. I'm just super excited to be able to say that I'm there, and
Yeah.
I qualified, and I got to play in the first Pro Tour. But
So that's kind of where I feel like I'm more happy with my ability to play chain and play the deck well than my actual list and the meta and everything. I'm like, okay, it's the first Pro Tour. My deck's well positioned. My pet deck's well positioned, which many people can't say. So I feel grateful for that, and I'm like, I'm just gonna play the deck I know. I'm gonna have fun. Hopefully make day two. Hopefully do well. Hopefully top eight. Hopefully win. But at the end of the day, like you said, we're just there. We got there. The whole, if you watch episode one, the whole journey getting there and, being there with Alex and Kyle and I, we're just happy to be there together. And the whole team actually got in. So very exciting stuff.
fucking all 6 of us, bro. That's
All
crazy.
six of us.
That's just mind blowing to me that like all 6 of us actually just did it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's such a cool feeling. But
And I think we've been
yeah,
testing like crazy. I think we're prepared what we think the meta is going to be. It's just kind of hard to you can't guess what everyone else's mind where they're at. It's impossible to oh, this deck's the best deck if Prism's not there. This deck's the best deck if there's a if there's no Bolton. Things like that. It's just hard, and I think that's the biggest thing that there's no data, and there's no data, but there's no new set or anything, so there's no real innovation to be had.
for real.
That's the problem.
And on
So
top of that too, like each testing group could be testing for different what they think the meta will be.
yeah,
So
exactly.
so like that's what makes it so out of left field of what will happen, because we can go in just per se that we think Starvo's still the best deck and nothing can touch
Control
that
Starvo's the
motherfucker,
best one. Yeah.
right? And then you go in and just hypothetical, you let's just say Team Kitchen Fable. Let's just say Team
Yeah.
Kitchen Fable's like, okay, Chain's the best deck, and we've been seeing results with Chain, so we know Chain is going to destroy Starvo. So then they all bring Chain, but this other team, let's just say Top Deck Keep, is like,
Yeah.
haha, well, I'm preying on you, and I have, a 40-60 Starvo matchup with our Prism list, or something, and it's just going to create this chaos where after probably round 3 of Friday, we're all going to know what's happening. But like it's going to
Yeah,
come to a shock to a lot of us.
and I will not be surprised if there is a deck out there or there is a list out there that did have some real innovation and they just kept quiet about it. A lot of the pro players have been vocal, but there have been some that haven't been vocal, and
If I got a
they're
pretty
always
penny
going to be.
paycheck, I'm gonna say it. If I got a pretty paycheck to put my tech out in a deck tech on a website, I'm doing it too. So
Yeah,
like no
exactly.
shots at Tarek and his knick-knack shit and sack deck, but like it's just like if somebody's throwing their checkbook at me, rumor or whatever, but like I'm doing it, like even if it's not the best. So I'm glad some people have been kind of vocal because it gets people talking and it kind of creates a buzz going into it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think we all know that Chain is well positioned, Starvo's well positioned. Um, it's just the percentage of them going to be there. Obviously, if Starvo's going to be more represented than Chain, then Prism's not a bad pick. But if it's going to be like 25% of the room Starvo, 25% of the room Chain, then it might not be the best pick. And Daylon Max said best that he doesn't know if a lot of the great Chain high level players will be on Chain, so we don't know. We know Tariq Patel. He's had a lot of testing in the deck in the last meta because he actually won a pro quest with it, and so obviously him. Chris Ray said he wasn't going to play the deck, but that was a player that had a lot of testing. in the last meta with him. And there's a few players who've had a lot of testing, like obviously Cody Williams. We can expect him to be on chain. Probably some of the Hyperloop boys.
Definitely one of the best chain players in the game, Cody. He's
Oh,
outstanding with that damn
sure.
deck. So
Yep. I wish it was more skillful so we could play that mirror match to see who's the better chain player. But I feel like chain's one of those decks that one or two matches with the deck doesn't show the skill. I think the results of how often you top and how well you do with the deck. And so far, he's done better than I have.
it's
So,
been killing it, man.
yeah, he has been killing it. So shout out to him. I expect him to be doing very well. Yeah, but I guess we can go into the expectations. That's kind of like our preparations into expectations, right?
Yeah,
Or do
expectations.
you want to touch a little bit more on preparations about exactly our regimen?
Well, yeah, we can still go about preparation. So the day that it came out, right? Obviously, a lot of people, first and foremost, half the people were like, "Well, I'm still going to test. I'm still going to practice to stay, to stay keen,
Yep.
to not have any rust, and go into testing when they announced the BNR." Um, then on top of that, they released it a week early. I want to say that, not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty sure I'm one of the first ones that said they needed to do it a week early. And then everybody piggybacked off that shit, and it happened, all right? So, like, after I posted that on one of the Facebook groups, then I saw everyone agree with me and keep going. And they were, like, pounding it in LSS's face. Let's go ahead and get this early. So, props to LSS for doing that, first and foremost. Gave
That
us an
was the
extra
best
week.
decision they made. Yeah,
Oh, for
that
sure.
was the
Because
best decision they made.
if we had a week and a half, we'd already fucking lost.
Oh my goodness.
But
And I feel like it really had the international players at a disadvantage because just imagine on May 2nd, which was 8 days ago, some people were already in the process of traveling, within the last week, being from a different country and all. So just imagine trying to test for 3-4 days. Everyone only has 3-4. I mean, maybe the American players would have a slight advantage because they would have got a little bit more testing in, and it would lead to such a weird meta where I feel like the meta is going to be healthier now because we had an extra weekend. It kind of gave people that time to realize. I think Yuki, she ended up just going and saying, "I'm gonna play Lexi because that's just what I want to do." And if she only had maybe 4 days, and like me, maybe if I only had 4 days, I would have stuck on chain. She's like, I'm just gonna play the deck I know. So we have more opportunities for people to go, yeah. Instead of just like net decking Starvo, Michael Hamilton, and running that, they kind of gave people longer to go. Okay, this is what I want to play. This is what I'm gonna do. Here's my game plan going into this tournament.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy to think that in the last 2 weeks, I think your deck has changed like 50, 60 times, and that's not even like an exaggeration. Like, I don't think I've ever seen U5 practice
So back and forth on.
and dude, you guys have tested so many different iterations of lists, and just like, I couldn't be more excited to see how you guys do, obviously, just because of all the work you guys have put in. Alex and Nam especially. Obviously piggybacking off of Indy, Alex was very excited to get to the drawing board for Pro Tour since he qualified first off right after Indy, but at the same time, like, he's been doing very well in testing.
He has.
So, and for you guys that don't know, preparations are different between player to player, group to group, and one thing that we actually did, we're actually really good friends with a lot of the Hong Kong players because of Josh. And one thing that we did was since we found out a few of them are actually coming up to play in the Pro Tour, that we would all collab. We'd all share lists versus each individual thing, each individual matchup. We talked about the pros of the matchup, the cons of each of the matchups, and deduced a lot of information and came up with like solidified list through, 10-15 matches each matchup. And
Yeah.
then we kind of narrowed it down from there and started honing in on ratios. And from there, I you know I think that might have been the best way to go about it. So
Yeah, and one tip that was really helpful is in the early those first couple days of the first week, every match, whether if it was just a deck that you're putting together, not a fun match, but a deck that you don't really know, that you're like, I'm not really gonna bring Starvo. Like I played a couple games on Starvo. I played about 20 games on Starvo, 10, 20 games on Starvo. It's like I'm not really gonna bring Starvo, but I'm gonna play it and write a little note about how the match went and what I could have done different, what my opponent could have done different, and I thought that helped a lot too. We had like a whole text channel of every single game, not just you know out of 5 we gave us a summary. Every single game we gave a summary.
speaking of the summaries, literally right now Alex just put in, just because he's testing right now still.
Yeah,
He's played 5 or 6 games against a certain deck, and he legitimately put in each and every single sideboard option, what his game plan was, um, and kind of how the game went, and then what's benefiting him in each match. So this right here is what I'm reading. I obviously can't say it because we're putting this up before Pro Tour, but this is exactly right here what's going to help you guys the most. And talking about the viewers, just doing things like this, presenting yourself with all the data you need.
yeah,
And shout out to the Pokemon team. The Pokemon team does this on another level. And I feel like if you want to be successful and you have a group that tests with you, this is the way to go. Having a journal, writing down legitimately everything, and taking all data and then coming up with your best choices. So, I feel like that's literally just it for preparation. Like, just take that for what it's worth, and going into the future when you're testing for other tournaments, do that. It'll help you tremendously. But
yeah. I agree.
what are you
Yeah,
expecting out of
so
this Pro Tour?
my expectations, um, I am expecting. It depends on how everyone's testing has been going and everything. I'm expecting a lot of Darvo. I'm not gonna lie to you. Feel like Chain is well positioned, but I do not think it's the best deck. I think Starvo's by a margin the best deck because when you're playing Chain, you have to play around a lot of things. You have to play against your own mental fatigue, actual fatigue, aggro, um, and I think half the heroes in the game can just decide to fatigue you if you're playing 60 cards, right? So you're in this weird spot where like if I see a random Katsu, I gotta put 68 cards against you, right? If I see Starvo, I don't know if they're gonna Ram's Head fatigue me or Stalagmite aggro me. So I have to put in, 68 cards against them, which is the number I found to be the little sweet spot where you're like not too leaning on the fatigue package, but you're not lean enough where if they are heavy fatiguing you that you'll get punished for it. Um, and even if I see a random Levia, I'm putting in 68 cards because I'm just like, what if this is Levia with, all brute cards that block 3 and,
It's all
defense
brute
reactions
cards
or
and
something.
defense
And
reactions and carrion husk. Like, good luck.
exactly,
You know,
exactly. And they're just like, get over this wall. I have no clue. Bolton's another matchup because we have Josh playing on the team. Bolton can easily fatigue Chain because, well, not easily, but it can get there. If you see no Art of Wars or you have a bad Art of War turn on your one Art of War turn, so not to get too much into Chain and into my over, but my expectations is um, skill Chain players will be okay. I think their skill will carry them through. Um,
there will be a select few.
but
I feel
yeah,
like are kind of day ones that'll do very well at the Pro Tour, and,
I
and
feel like
see go deep.
I feel like if you picked up the deck in the last 2 weeks though.
Good luck. Yeah,
It,
you gonna
it,
need
it's a
Jesus to help you there.
yeah, and I'm saying I think that maybe because we have that extra week, some people can get there. Um, Especially if their matchups just seem like Starvo, Chain Mirror, like their matchups aren't too. But if they see a Rhinar, by the way, if you see a Rhinar, please side in 68, 72 cards because they will fatigue you because they can't put out more damage than you. Things like that, things that you don't know. Uh, that's where a lot of them are gonna get got.
Yeah, for sure. As far as my expectations go, I think I I'm kind of not even worried about the meta itself. I'm worried about the environment. You know, the expectations of the feel of where we're gonna be at. You know, kind of the prestige of the first ever pro tour. You know what to expect as far as content wise. Looks like we're gonna have commoner stuff, or looks like we're gonna have, you know, battle hardened. We got so many things that's gonna happen. We have the banquet that we need to talk about. That's the next thing on the list. You know,
If we're
James
talking about
White's gonna be there.
my overall expectations, I think it's going to be amazing, and I'm just so excited to be at a calling that everyone's happy to go to, and you know, it's just going to be good vibes all around.
Oh, I agree. I'm looking forward to the to some of the cosplay that's gonna go on.
Yeah, of course.
I think it's neat for, you know, James White and LSS to come out and say, like, you know, anybody can, you know, cosplay, and, you know, we're gonna do a giveaway for the best cosplayer, or so I think is what he
Yeah.
said, or something like that. I think that's neat. It incentivizes people to come out and show their fandom of what they love. So
But
I
what I
think
love
it's neat.
about this is, you know, that it's kind of like the premiere event, kind of like that Vegas feel. It's like even if you aren't just a grinder, I feel like Indy was very like tournament grinder focused, right? It was just like come here, uh, you kind of have the calling, have a battle harden. That's it. It didn't have like that extra little event tied with it. This truly feels like a event, like almost kind of like a flesh and blood convention happening. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
for
it's like
sure.
even if you're the casual player, I think this is if you've never been to a calling, this is the one you want to go
It's
to.
the perfect event
If
for
you
you.
can't, yeah, exactly, because I think there's going to be amazing side events like you have the commoner event that's going on that you can win a lore book out of, which I was
That's
like, that is
so
so awesome.
sick. That's so
That
sick.
as someone who just learned the game a couple weeks ago, you're like, well, you don't even have legendaries. That's fine. Just play commoner, and you
Yeah.
could win. A really cool piece of, sure, it has a value to it, like of $1,000, but that doesn't matter because if you're getting into the game, and whether you're a veteran or you're just getting in, having that awesome lore book is just something to
It's a
hold
piece of
on to.
history, you know, like it's something
Exactly.
that, you know, they don't give. You know, it's just something that I
Exactly.
don't know. It's just I don't even know. That's just that's so cool. And then, you know,
I've been waiting to shake James White's hand for a long time, so
for
I'm very excited.
dude, for real. If you guys didn't know, way back, the card guys used to be sponsored. We used to have a Yu-Gi-Oh team. It used to be sponsored by a New Zealand company, and come to find out, that was one of James White's companies. And so I got to shake his hand just because of that too. He got the card guys going through some rough times at the, you know, 2016 era. So super appreciative of Mr. James White in that regard. But at the same time, he created such a great game, and, you know, a great environment, and obviously you can tell how much passion he has for what he's created, just off of, you know, his the things that, you know, you really don't see. Like the other day, he just announced that they raised $75,000 and to donate it to, you know, was it Poland, I believe?
Ukraine.
Ukraine. Why did I
Ukraine.
just think Poland?
Yeah.
We talked about Poland,
Because
something with Poland earlier, but yeah, the
no, because
Ukraine stuff. So
because of the calling, and we're like, no one's gonna come to Poland because of Ukraine's right next door, and that's why we got it.
that's what it was. That's what we were talking about. So yeah, like, you know, little things like that. you can definitely tell that he gives a shit. And
This isn't his
it's
first charitable thing he's done. I think if you see Matt Rogers and Cale McCreef, they did some kind of fundraiser and they matched them or something like that, if I do remember, because there's that picture with them in the big check. I think it was
on
against
the
cancer.
couch. Yep. I
Yeah,
remember that.
yep,
Like the amount of just PR that they do is just it's
yeah,
outstanding, and
it is.
it's honestly unmatched. So major props to LSS team for doing God's work. I fucking love it. So let's talk about the banquet for a second because
For the banquet and then the
motherfuckers.
panel.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly that's. Whew, I'm excited. Hopefully they'll let me record it. Because I would love to be able to record it, put it on YouTube, and like we can all share. Everybody can just go back and watch it over time, and just kind of see how the games progressed and talking to these devs and talking to James White and getting questions answered that a lot of people want answers to, good or bad. Like I think that this is a perfect opportunity for LSS to learn a lot, for us to learn a lot, and like especially obviously with the panel. I'm ready to meet Tyler Horspool on the dessert table finals. That's gonna be fun. That's a little joke that he and I have been having back and forth. Not play testing for the Pro Tour, play testing for the banquet, and that means we eat. So I'm honestly just looking forward to the banquet in general. Being able to see a lot of the players that we've met since I mean, hell, I guess since a year ago, because a lot of the players, our local players, are going up to New Jersey, and obviously at the same time, all the players we met along the way at Vegas, all the pro quests that we've been to, all the roads and nats we've been to, and I think it's going to be a good time. I legitimately just cannot wait. It's Content
I can't wait
Central,
either.
and I'm going to be recording all weekend, and it's just going to be a fucking good time.
Yeah.
Regardless of how we do, obviously I would want us to do very well, but like just capturing the moments and trying to, you know,
Yeah, I said it. It doesn't matter how I'm giving Chain Living Legend points this weekend. I don't care if it's drop out of the Pro Tour, get beat up day one, go win the calling, or win the Battle Harden on on Sunday. We're
uh,
giving him some. We're
is the
giving
battle
him some
hardened?
Living Legend points.
Is the battle hardened Blitz?
Yes.
Oh, you're playing Chain and
Oh,
Blitz. Spoiler
oh yeah.
shit. Um, and that's a whole
So
nother
I'm super
topic for a
excited.
whole nother day, by the way. But
Oh my goodness, yeah. Blitz after this whole Reinar and Dory deck comes out and the meta going into the team event Vegas. That's going to be a
shit's
fun
about to be
video.
whack. I'm so excited. Um, let's talk about predictions for our top 8. I have quite a few different things listed as predictions for heroes. Any players you think might get there? How many different nationalities do you think will represent top 8? Um, and I have my fair share of ideas on who could possibly be doing very well from other countries too. But if you want to start us off, what do you think the top 8 breakdown will be?
Top 8 breakdown. All right. So I think don't know the exact, right? Like this is obviously we have no data to go off, so we don't have like everyone who called it during the who everyone who said indie like was commentating indie, they basically called it spot on. They're like, I think there's gonna be like 5-6 Starvo and 2 Rune Blades and a Prism, and they hit the hit it on the head. With that, but for me, I think no Prism. I don't think this is Prism's event, honestly. I feel like this is a lot like U.S. Nationals meta, where since there is so much unknown, people are just going to bring aggro decks, and Prism doesn't do well. And even her best quotation marks matchup against Starvo isn't even a great matchup because if you look through the ProQuest data, Starvo had a higher win rate into Prism than Prism did. So it's not even a great match. So I think no Prism. I would say I'm teetering on 4 or 5 Starvo,
Yeah,
honestly,
sure.
but I'll go 4 Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say 4 Guardians. Now, do I think an Oldhim maybe can make it if there's not a lot of Prism? Yes,
It's
um,
possible.
possible. But I'm gonna probably say 4 Starvo or 4 Guardians. Um, 3 Room Blade, then 1 Outlier deck.
One Katsu?
One Katsu, 1
Oh god.
Lexi, something weird.
Nah,
Um,
Lydia.
yeah, he'll finally get his moment.
You know,
Uh,
I don't know.
yeah, I would say like 3 Room Blades, 4 Guardians, and then one deck. It might be Kano. Like, honest to God,
I would be
it just
so
might.
happy. I would be so happy. Like if Justin just blew this tournament out the water too. You know,
Yeah,
being a Kano player and having
sticking
the
with the deck.
being a weirdo and playing Kano. He knows he's a weirdo. I can say that we're friends. Um,
Yeah,
but like you know, I
nationalities now. That's kind of where it's interesting for me because I'm
oh for
like,
sure.
I honestly think it's going to be a North American dominated tournament. I think we
That's
took
controversial. You better catch some backlash. I'm
Hey, we
excited.
took Krakow, and I think we're gonna take this one. And I think I'm gonna say it. I think Matt Rogers is probably gonna be the one who tops, but I think it's gonna be 6 or 7 American players, and then like one to 2 New Zealand players, and then yeah,
Wow.
I'm leaving it at that.
Look at
I,
you. Look at you being bold.
I mean, I
Just
think there are a lot of good players out there. It's just kind of like
I mean
I think
I agree to a certain extent. Um I do think for my heroes first and foremost, I do think it's almost going to be just like Pittsburgh. Where it's going to be 5 or 6 Starvo. Um and then probably a couple Roomblade. Or you might have the 5 1 Prism 2 Roomblade type of ordeal. Ultimately though, I said this on Twitter. Somebody asked, and I gave my 2 cents. I think it's going to be either the luckiest Starvo player or the most skilled chain player, and I don't think there's going to be any in between.
yeah,
And that's probably what we're going to see in the finals is chain Starvo. I think that's just how it might be. And
me, right?
yeah, of course. I mean, you've said it.
When I win,
You're giving that fucker living legend. You're winning, right? So, um, as far as uh, as far as nationalities, I think we're actually gonna have quite a couple. Um,
I think it's
obviously,
gonna be pretty diverse.
possibly. Um, you know, I do think since there's more Americans playing in the tournament than anybody else, um, I do believe that that's going to be the most represented. But now I just put my head to the side. I'm thinking here.
Well,
I
that was
do.
another thing. If COVID restrictions weren't still hard in certain countries like Taiwan and Hong Kong, I do think we would have a very decent showing of that. But because there are so much restrictions on countries like that right now, I think that's also where the number kind of hurts too.
Sure,
Like
sure,
why
sure,
we'll have
sure.
so many Americans in the top 8.
Bold prediction. Um, 2 Hong Kong players I know are coming. I do believe one will top 8.
You really do?
Um, I think their skill
I mean,
showed
they're
throughout
great
the
players.
Fab Team
Yeah.
League, and I think that they've had great showings in Hong Kong, and I think with them getting acclimated, sorta to kind of how Americans think with playing with us, I do think they have an edge. They have the knowledge from their meta and the knowledge of how to adapt in certain ways, and then they've had to test with us They got to test with us quite a bit. So
Yep.
I do feel like one of them will do very well. I'm not gonna say which one because I don't know which one, but I think it'll be 4 American players, 1 player from Hong Kong or I guess from that region. I do believe that might be a couple of the only players that are coming from anywhere near that region, to my knowledge. I do think possibly 1 or 2 well, one or two players from down under, being Australia or New Zealand, or one of each, and we'll probably see one European player. There's quite a few really good players. A
Oh,
couple of
there are.
players, that obviously you have to account for is Matthew Folks. Um, I believe his name is Chris or Christian Hawk. I want to say he was actually the guy who lost to Yanji in the finals of that calling. Um, Very good player. He's also a Magic professional or a previous Magic professional. So he's got the
Oh, he's got that
he,
experience of
he's got the
card games
experience
and
of playing in a tournament of that
high
caliber.
level.
So
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, I would say it's probably 4 Americans, one player from Hong Kong, player from New Zealand or two or Australia, and yeah, like one European player. Um, as far as players go, though, one that I think possibly has a very good chance of winning the tournament or top eighting. I know you. Go ahead and say yours first.
Um, the only person I've seen talk about on Twitter, and this is obviously, you know, it's kind of like, can you believe everything you not everything you read on Twitter, but can you believe that he's the only person who actually feels good
Mm-hmm.
about his deck? But Michael Hamilton did tweet out that he feels comfortable about his deck list, which is quite the opposite of everything I've heard everyone else say. Um, like I've said it myself today to Kyle before this podcast. Tyler Horsepool's been very vocal about like
About the
if
banquet.
you're about the banquet and if you're doing your fab fantasy draft, don't pick me. And I think a lot of players share that sentiment right now that hey, don't pick me to win this event or do well because like I don't know where my deck is. Um, but Michael Hamilton, he's fucking killed it, dude, and that will be my big f bomb for the podcast. But this man has fucking killed it in the competitive scene, like,
He has.
and
He
and
deserves
I
that
will
number one
say
spot right now.
there's not a bigger dick move than he won the calling, felt overshadowed, and he's like, oh, well, they don't think I'm good because all the good players are over at Nationals, so I'll just go win the fucking next one where all the good players are.
Yeah, dude, for real.
And then they ask him who's the best player, and he's like, I guess the guy who won 2 callings. Like, what the hell? All right, I see how it is. So, and then the fact that he's getting into this tournament, like, yeah, I feel comfortable. I'm like, he's a force to be reckoned with.
I know. I'm excited.
Considering that he's also, I think, Control Starvo's favored in this tournament. I think if I was not a chain player, tried and true, like, stuck with the deck no matter what, and during Uprising, this is going to be a big thing about playing different decks, and this is another podcast topic that someone submitted that we'll get into in a different one, but diversifying your deck and playing the best deck. I kind of regretted last format not just playing the best deck, sticking with Chain, but for one reason or another, I stuck with Chain, and I'm like, I should have picked Starvo and just had an easier time during ProQuest and during Indie. And since I did pick Chain during that meta, going into this meta, Chain's in a better spot now. Why would I leave that deck and trade it out for Starvo, which I haven't been playing, right?
Fucking traitor. Yeah.
Versus Michael Hamilton, who's played Fatigue Guardian at the Orlando Calling during Nationals, won that. Went to this event and did the same thing. And now I would say his deck, if you would have told me a Fatigue Starvo would win Indy, I would have said no because there's too much Viscerai in the room. But he made it happen. Like he made it happen, and I would say his deck was not necessarily favored to win if there was, you know, one or two more Viscerai at the high level tables. I think he could have got blown out. Honestly, with you, talking about Nathan. uh, so, but now
Yeah.
going into this event where I do think his deck is favored, I'm like, he's got a top 8, right? Or make a very very good showing. So that is where my money on is a top 8. Obviously, I'm winning, so I can't give him that. But no, I'm just kidding. Um, yeah, I do expect him to do very well.
As for me, it's probably going to come as a surprise to a lot of people. Obviously, we're not picking teammates because I firmly have the biggest faith in you guys to do well. I'm gonna pick another chain player that I think might possibly could win the whole thing. It's Cody Williams. I think that he's proven himself as one of the top-notch chain players. He did it at Indy. And
Yesterday at Pittsburgh, correct?
I want to say that's possible that he did it in Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken. He
No, he
also
topped.
did,
I know he topped. I don't know if it was with chain. I didn't check, but I believe he topped the chain at Pittsburgh too.
and if I'm not mistaken, did he not do it at Nationals? I could be wrong, but I do feel like he feel like he is on his P's and Q's with the deck.
Yes.
So that's my person, Cody Williams.
All right.
I do think that.
Okay, so now if Cody Williams beats me in the mirror match for my winning, and I know who wished that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. It was you.
It'd be like that sometimes. So
Anyway,
yeah. Let's talk about the elephant in the room for a second. This wick whack smoking crack that card. Knick Knack Brick-a-Brack. It's fucking stupid name. What are y'all thinking? But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this card? Obviously, for people who don't know what the card does, pretty much you play it and you get a potion, or you get an amulet, or you get a talisman of some sort. And so obviously it came to fruition when what's his name? Tarek Patel. Tarek came out with his list talking about Knick Knack Brick-a-Brack and how he can get time snap potions, and very hard to get fatigued. What are your initial thoughts on that, Sebastian? Being the chain player and obviously seeing his list, I think you might be the perfect person to talk about this too, because obviously he's talking about your expertise in chain. So walk me through things. Why this meme of a card? At least to me, it seems like a meme.
I think he has a game plan, and the theory behind it, I think, is good, right? I think the theory behind it's good. And where he's saying the power lies is you trade out your blues, which you don't want to really block with your blues that often in chain, right? You want to keep your blues, and then you play your blue cards as you put your fatigue package in. I assume he would be playing, he said, Eclipse, time snap potions. I assume you would do invert existence because it's a very easy card to get Eclipse off with, especially if you're playing 62 cards. Knick Knack Brick-a-Brack.
Give
And
the
he's
dog a
like,
bone. Yep.
yeah. And he's saying that you play 62 cards, so against the aggro tempo Starvo list, you don't forego having the extra 6 cards in there and having a bad time because you put in a couple extra cards that don't do as much. Get the theory behind it and the damage stacking thing, and if you have 2 time saps on the field, you're pretty much guaranteed to win that fatigue game. It makes sense to me. It was just like, I personally haven't tested it, but from what I've heard from people who have tested it is that it's cute, but is it worth it? I
And
personally am going to say,
I guess we'll find out. What are you gonna say?
yeah, I guess we'll find out. I'm personally going to say with 2 days left before the Pro Tour, 3 days left before the Pro Tour. No, like,
Yeah,
it's not worth
sure.
it for me. Like, sure, if I'm Tariq Patel, I've been sitting on this tech for maybe 2-3 weeks, and I'm sorry, a week extra time, and or maybe he was thinking about this combo before even the spoilers came out and the ban list, not the spoilers, the ban list came out. Sure, then why would you not try it out and see if it's really worth it? Overall, do I think his list is optimized? Now, like I said, I think the Knick Knack Brick-a-Brack thing, I think that's a real thing. I think that was just, it's a cute combo. I think what he said about the damage stacking was correct and everything. Now, do I believe if you were to run his 60 cards, would that be a good deck? I'm gonna say overall his deck seems like it is a playable chain deck. Is it optimized? Is it the deck he's playing? I would say no. And that's
Not
not
the
a
whole
call out.
thing.
I mean, and it makes sense not to give your exact 80 cards. I think there was a couple things that made me go like, I don't understand why he's playing this, like Yellow Riftbind, not playing one Unhallowed Rights. It's like things like that. I'm like, why would you play a Yellow Riftbind over an Unhallowed Rights when Unhallowed Rights turns on so much anti-fatigue, and it's just a better card when you're looking at it, because Riftbind, to get it a 1 for 4, you have to play 2 non-attack actions, versus Unhallowed Rights is always going to be a 1 for 4 in hand, and it's going to be a 1 for 4 in banish. Sure, it has an additional cost, but
Yeah.
if you're playing out Riftbind, you need to have non-attack actions out anyway. And then Unhallowed Rights has the anti-fatigue thing where you get to recycle your House or recycle your Seeping Shadow in the late game to have a blue in your hand. So I think there was a couple things that I was like, this doesn't look optimized, but overall I thought it was a good chain deck. Knick Knack Bric-a-Brac is cute, and
It's just cute. I get it.
it's cute. It's
I get
cute.
it.
If I had more time to play it, I could give you my full thought on, like, my in detail, like, yes, this is better than everything I've ever played because of this. But if with only hearing about it, because my list has been a couple cards off, so I've just decided to not play test that avenue, just hear from what one of our teammates said about their experience with it, so I can fine tune my list that I know is reliable, a couple more cards, and get that done. I decided to put my time towards that than to test this list. So
Very noble of you. Um, let's get into some questions. We only got a couple, but um, one's a good one, one's a funny one. From Nathan, rest in peace, Viscerai, asks, "What do you do when LSS pulls the rug from under you and makes your main hero bad on the spot?" You cry. I think you curl up in your covers, get in your bed, get some ice cream, and watch your favorite anime or your favorite TV show, and you cry for a few days, and then you get up and you start playing the meta. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what he did.
yeah,
So I mean, like, I think he's on the right track there. It's a little, it was a little disheartening for me because I played Viscerai the entire ProQuest season minus I think one tournament, right? And obviously, and I'd spent a lot of time learning it. I picked it up sort of late. It's right when ProQuest season was starting, and them hitting Viscerai kind of put me in the dumps for a bit because I didn't have a lot of time. And going into Pro Tour, I knew even when I qualified, I wasn't going to have a lot of time to play test. And I felt like that was my most comfortable deck. And I was a little upset that I wasn't able to play it for the Pro Tour. But I digress at this point.
what do you mean? You
Um,
can still play it.
well, like, I mean, like,
You can still
sure,
play it. What do you mean?
sure. I mean, I just fucking go 0-4 and want to kill myself. No, like I have a little bit of you know self love, I guess. I don't want to hate myself going into this tournament. I'll get shit on by literally everything. So I'd rather just not. But
Starbo's got a block Rico corruption, all right.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I just don't think it's in a very very grindy tournament. I don't think it's worth. But I digress. Like I said,
With so much fatigue being there, and Oldham and Control Starbo just being able to block out the whole game, it's like it's not going to be fun no matter what. Alex said it the best way. He was like, or someone, I forgot who said this, but they're like, basically, after you do your combo and you're trying to play with those like mediocre hands after you do your combo and you're trying to find the window to kill them, it's like, just imagine the whole game's like that. You're just trying to play
yeah,
Mauvern Sky something Rosetta, Mauvern Sky something Rosetta every single turn, just trying to get
love
that last
linear bullshit. My favorite.
exactly.
Um, Eric asks, what do you both expect to see at Pro Tour meta wise? Total shift from Starbo, or just as much or more?
I
Um,
think we kind
we
of,
we
I already kind of answered this. Yeah.
we kind of covered it. I'll just give like a brief. Summary again. I do think Starville will probably stay about the same. And you'll probably see almost, maybe a little less representation out of Chain. So, and then after that, nothing else matters. No, I think you'll still see probably 12% Prism. We'll probably see quite a bit of Briar as well. But I think those will be like the main three still, right? Main 3 or 4 that we'll see. But I think overall, Starvo most representative, Chain next, probably Prism, and then Briar right under it.
No.
So
yeah, I would say maybe even Briar over Prism.
You think so?
I don't think a lot of people are going to be playing Prism.
Shout out to Willie B.
Shout out to Willie B, the lone Prism out there.
Absolute psychopath. I love it. Loves his Bay. Bay never lets me down, you know?
Bay never lets me down. Yep.
Shout out to that dude. Fuck me. But yeah, I think that's pretty much what we think the meta is going to be. Just kind of the same, Yeah. Obviously different looking lists and stuff, but other than that, just it'd be roughly the same.
I can tell you, whoever you are playing Kano out there, fuck you. No, I'm just...
Justin, you asshole.
Justin.
And hey, I guarantee he's listening to this, laughing his ass off.
And he'll send us a message after he hears it, like, ah ha ha, can't wait to play against you. Don't put that evil on me, motherfucker. Get away from me.
Alex brought it up last night. He was like, I swear to God, if round 1 I sit down and it's Justin, I'm just not gonna play. I'm just gonna take a walk for an hour. Just not happening. So that's funny. But yeah.
I got a story. There was someone in Indy who's like, as long as I don't play Justin Graham round 1, I'm okay, and didn't bring his whole room. And guess who he saw across?
He played it round fucking 1. I remember that. Oh, God. That was comedy. That was pure comedy. Man, this podcasting thing's fun, man. You know,
it is.
We're only finishing up episode 2, but it's been fun to say the least. I'm excited to continue this and just seeing where this goes. And yeah. That was it for the questions, by the way, because we didn't have a lot of them.
We didn't really ask.
No, I asked like 15 minutes before we started recording. But
okay.
But like, if you guys, we're posting this on Thursday, I think. Thursday? So yeah, I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna post it on, or no, okay, I'm putting it up tomorrow. So if you guys see us at New Jersey, hit us up. Come say hey to us. We love to meet people, and say hi. I think it'd be neat. We're gonna be in hoodies that say the Card Guys on them. So yeah, that's us. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You got anything else that you want to add? Any stories or anything before I click stop recording?
Oh yeah, just come say hi to us. If you see me about round 6 or 7 and I'm storming off, maybe don't ask me how my record is. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead and tilt me more. Go ask me how my record is.
Read the freaking room, No, I know, I get that. That's so relatable. It's unreal.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I mean, shout out to people who's asked questions that have listened to our podcast the first episode.
Shout out to you just for making it this long and listening to us ramble on and on. And
real fucking MVP. I love it. For sure.
All right, so
well,
intro us.
Yeah,
outro us.
I'll hit us with I'll spitball a little bit. First off, don't ever ask me for a take back at the Pro Tour. I will laugh at you like the Joker.
Second off, Nick Knack smoking crack.
Right? Nick Knack smoking crack. When you put that on Twitter, man, I absolutely pissed myself. It was so funny. But yeah, that's pretty much it for us, guys. It's been Kyle and Sebastian with the Missing Triggers podcast. We appreciate you guys, and don't forget to brush your teeth, wash those pits, and wipe your ass. If you smell like shit at the Pro Tour, I'm gonna call you out and point at you and tell everybody you smell like shit. So please don't smell like shit, because I don't want to do that, but I fucking will do that. Okay. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night. Yeah.
Smelly motherfuckers.